Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we do another deep dive into Prime Video. And let's get to the list.
Welcome to the greatest show on earth!
Circus of the Dead is a 2014 horror movie, co-written and directed by Billy Bloody Bill Pond. It stars Bill Oberst Jr., Paris Randall, and Chanel Ryan. A sadistic group of clowns kidnap an unsuspecting man and his daughters, forcing him to play a deadly game in order to save his family.
Silence is golden.
Okay, so this movie is created to offend. This is definitely not going to be for everybody. It is not something that I would even consider a good movie, but I do think it's entertaining for a lot of horror fans like myself. If you enjoy gore, the special effects of it, you enjoy sadistic, really brutal, messed up, dark stuff, then this movie is a lot of fun because it has a sense of humor to it. But it's a very twisted, sick sense of humor. But this has SA in it, child murder, just the most horrific types of things you can think of are somehow at some point put in this movie. And a lot of the cast is just not good either. Like, there is really not that great of acting. This is a low budget, very campy, schlocky kind of movie. But the real standout in this is Papa Corn and the rest of the clowns. He has the majority of the dialogue and a real stylish way of doing some of the most messed up, horrific things imaginable. But once again, like I said, this is not going to be for everyone. If you're a fan of Terrifier and Art the Clown, then I think there's a good chance you might enjoy this one, but it's definitely in that vein of things. I was also just made aware that they're working on a sequel. They plan to start shooting it this year, so hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll get to go at it one more time with this cast of characters. So if you like them twisted, dark, and demented with a strange, wicked sense of humor, then definitely give this one a look.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go away! Go away! I'm sorry.
Jack Goes Home is a 2016 psychological horror movie, written and directed by Thomas Dekker. It stars Rory Culkin, DeVay Chase, and Nikki Reed. After his father is killed in a car accident, Jack travels home to help nurse his mother back to health. There he uncovers long-buried secrets and lies within his family's history.
You asleep, Jack? When you're ready. In the attic. When you're ready, Jack, you go up to the attic.
This is a really well-done movie that really flies under the radar. You never hear it mentioned. But I think it's one of my favorite performances from Rory Culkin, and the rest of the cast is solid as well. It gets dark and twisted and definitely keeps you guessing throughout. There's also some cool imagery, and it's very mysterious and haunting. This is a captivating, interesting movie that I think is definitely worth adding to your list.
I won't let you do that again. I'll kill you first.
Brimstone is a 2016 Western psychological horror movie. Directed by Martin Kulhoven, it stars Dakota Fanning, Guy Pearce, and Kit Harington. A frontier woman turns fugitive when she is wrongly accused of a crime she didn't commit, and is being hunted by a vengeful preacher.
You think you can take that which belongs to me?
She deserves to be free.
We are free here. No, we're not.
I talked about this one earlier this year, but it's such a gem and really hidden, and it's just amazing to me how I still have just not really heard it talked about, other than you guys. I mean, you guys seem to enjoy it, but it's just strange. It's such a well-done movie. I think it's probably because of how dark and upsetting and uncomfortable it is. But recently I was checking out the new movie Watchers with Dakota Fanning, And I was just thinking about how underutilized she was in that, and how if you didn't know and you hadn't seen her in other projects, you might not realize what a phenomenal actor she is. But in this movie, you really see her shine, as well as Guy Pearce. Guy Pearce is so terrifying, so just creepy and unnerving in this movie. But this is very dark. It deals with a lot of things that could trigger the wrong audience. So make sure going in that you're aware of the things you can handle. Don't go watching something that is really going to scar you if you're not ready for it. But it's well shot, well directed, well written. It's a very compelling story. Just a really, really good movie in every way you can think of. So for the right audience, this is a movie that I highly, highly recommend.
Not gonna go anywhere, sweetheart.
What are you?
Run, Sweetheart, Run is a 2020 supernatural horror movie. Directed by Shauna Festi, it stars Ella Balinska and Pillow Asbach. After what seems to be an innocent date, Cherry now faces a night of terror when her date hunts her down and tries to kill her. She now must run for her life throughout the city and escape his grasp.
One drink.
I had an absolute blast with this movie. It's so much fun to me. I'm really kind of surprised that more of you guys didn't seem to love it. Maybe just not enough people have checked it out yet. I'm not sure. Maybe the trailer doesn't make you aware of what it actually is, because it's a lot more fun of a movie than it seems. Because it shows it being kind of a rape revenge kind of movie, but it's not exactly that. And it is a lot more entertaining and interesting and quirky and very unique than I think you're going to expect it to be. But it's not anything to take super serious either. The whole movie is a little bit campy, and it seems to be done on purpose to have kind of a sense of humor. But it's exciting, it gets gory and intense. I think it's an absolutely fun time, and one you should definitely check out.
Pippa, what did you do?
The Voyeurs is a 2021 erotic drama thriller. Written and directed by Michael Mahone, it stars Sydney Sweeney, Justice Smith, and Ben Hardy. Pippa and Thomas move into their dream apartment, but they notice that their windows look directly into the apartment opposite them, which sets in motion a chain of events that leads to disaster.
I've been having dreams. I wanted it to happen.
This is not like most of the movies I talk about. Most of the movies I talk about are pretty solidly in horror. This one is very French, but I think it's a really well put together movie, and it gets pretty dark, and it goes for it, especially towards the end. And to me, it crosses over from being an erotic thriller to being more of a straight up thriller and bordering into horror. And so because of that, I think a lot of you guys will still enjoy this one. Beyond that, I think a lot of you guys are really enjoying the performances from Sydney Sweeney, especially after seeing her in Immaculate. Like, she just killed that role. And this performance is a lot different from that, so I'm not saying that this is gonna go as crazy as that by any means. But I think she still gives a wonderful performance in this. But like I said, it is a little more twisted and dark than it seems, especially on the front. Because this movie starts out as kind of a slice of life, and it leans into the erotic side, and it's a bit of a slow burn. You got to be patient, but little by little it gets more and more twisted and uncomfortable, and it kind of has an Alfred Hitchcock-esque type of feel to it. But I really enjoyed it. It's really well produced, well shot, well directed. Everybody gives a great performance in it. I think it's definitely one that a lot of people have overlooked, and one that I really think is worth your time.
You better bring your A game. You're gonna need it.
Unhinged is a 2020 horror thriller. Directed by Derek Borte, it stars Russell Crowe, Karen Pistolas, and Jimmy Simpson. After a confrontation with an unstable man at a red light, a woman becomes the target of his rage.
Having a kind of a hard time lately. I'm sorry.
Just ignore him.
Well, if you could just do the same, we could press reset.
I don't have anything to apologize for.
This is such a better movie, more entertaining and enjoyable than it has any right to be. It's also another one that just kind of seems to have slipped through the cracks, a lot of it probably due to it being released in 2020. But it's one of my favorite recent Russell Crowe performances. He is so unhinged, for a lack of a better word, hence the name. It's exciting, it's extremely intense and heart-pounding. And it goes for it and becomes more wild and more of a horror movie than it seems like it's gonna be in the beginning. But like I said, Russell Crowe is amazing in this. He is so scary and terrifying and just really believable in this role. I think a lot of the reason why I really enjoyed it is because in a lot of ways it reminds me of older movies, stuff from the past like The Hitchhiker and things that we've had that kind of deal with a similar situation to this. So it just kind of feels like a throwback, but it still deals with a lot of modern issues. It just has that throwback old school vibe about it. It's also kind of campy and not one to really take super serious. So I think it's very enjoyable and definitely worth your time.
What's going on?
Something bad happened to me. Something bad happened to me in the woods.
Honeymoon is a 2014 supernatural horror movie. Directed by Lee Janiak, it stars Rose Leslie and Harry Treadway. A newlywed couple's late country honeymoon descends into chaos after the man finds his new wife wandering around disoriented in the middle of the night.
Please! Hey!
This is truly a hidden gem. Because a lot of movies I talk about are overlooked. A lot of movies, for different reasons just don't get enough eyes. But sometimes there's movies like this one that is a lower budget, but it's really well put together and it seems like no one knows about it. And that's fun. I love recommending movies like that because they're just that hidden special horror treat that only certain people know about. But I also want people to see movies like this. I don't want it to linger in obscurity forever. The people involved in it did too good of a job for it to be completely ignored. But this goes for it. It gets creepy, unnerving, twisted. It is mysterious. It takes a lot of different twists and turns, does things that you're not going to be necessarily expecting it to do. But also keep in mind, it is a smaller production type of film. But it's creepy, atmospheric, and unnerving, and one that I think you should definitely check out.
What have you done?
Help me.
Isolation is a 2005 Irish sci-fi horror movie. Written and directed by Billy O'Brien. It stars Sean Harris, Essie Davis, and John Lynch. On a remote Irish farm, 5 people become unwilling participants in an experiment that goes nightmarishly wrong.
John, we've got to shut it all down. It's gone wrong.
That's impossible. This rate of cellular growth is off the scale.
Here's another absolute hidden gem. It is creepy. It deals in some body horror things. It'll definitely make your skin crawl. I love experiment science kind of movies like this where it's a creature feature, scientific experiment that goes horribly wrong. I love that kind of sci-fi, icky, uncomfortable movies. But there's a lot of mystery in this. It is a smaller movie, and I think they did a great job of leaning into that. And so what you don't see becomes extra creepy. And you do get little glimpses and peeks here and there of what you're dealing with. And that to me really adds to it because your imagination really gets carried away and you add more to it than what's actually there. But they do show you some stuff and it gets very weird and unnerving. There's some fantastic imagery in this as well, and I just think it's a really cool movie and one that definitely more people need to see. So if you like sci-fi, psychological, body horror thrillers, then you should definitely check this one out. Death of Me is a 2020 psychological horror movie. Directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, it stars Maggie Q, Alex Esso, and Luke Hemsworth. A vacationing couple must discover the mystery behind a strange video that shows one of them killing the other.
What are you doing?
So this has a really great setup and interesting premise. I don't think I've really seen anything exactly like it and what they do with it. I'm not saying it's the most original movie ever made or anything like that, but I do think it is unique and it does have a lot of fresh ideas in it. But what really makes this movie shine is the performances. I mean, especially from Maggie Q. But Chris Hemsworth and Alex Esso both give great performances as well. There's just lots of layers of emotion, and it gets more and more disturbing and uncomfortable as you unravel this mystery and figure out what exactly is going on here. It has great imagery that I think will stick with you, and I just think it's a solid movie. So if you enjoy mind-bender, twisted, psychological thrillers, then you should definitely check this one out.
Got my attention.
John Dies at the End is a 2012 sci-fi comedy horror movie. Written and directed by Don Coscarelli, it stars Chase Williamson, Rob Mays, Paul Giamatti, and Clancy Brown. A new street drug that causes users to travel across time and dimension has one drawback. Some people return no longer human.
Stuff, this soy sauce. So it's a drug, right?
Just tell me what this stuff is, John.
The effects don't last that long?
The side effects don't last that long. The effects will last the rest of my life, I think.
So for the last movie on most of my lists, I try to give you guys something fun, something that I think is just absolutely entertaining. Not one that you really need to overthink or that's going to be bothersome, but more of a lighthearted journey and ride. And I think this week is exactly that. It is so much fun. It's so entertaining. It's wild. It's adventurous. It's a very, very one-of-a-kind original experience. It's very funny and definitely a comedy, but it also has a lot of really weird, gross horror and things that you probably have never seen before. It's created from the mind of Don Coscarelli, who did the Phantasm series. I mean, that right there should tell you how imaginative this guy is. But this is much more funny and not as gothic-y, creepy, nightmarish. This is definitely more of a sci-fi direction as well. But I think this movie will entertain you and keep you guessing throughout because it's really impossible to know what's gonna happen next. It's nonsensical at times and doesn't exactly make total sense, but it doesn't really matter because it's just a lot of fun. So I think it's a perfect pick for this Saturday night. So do yourself a favor this weekend, pick one of the movies off of this list, grab some popcorn and some candy, and enjoy! And I want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys mean so much to me. And if you would like to help support this channel over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. Or you can become a channel member and help support the channel that way. And there's a button right down there that says join. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, guys, horror can be fun. And if you enjoyed this, click right here to watch me talk about 10 more movies that I think you'll enjoy. And I'll see you guys next time.